Refused my future mother-in-law's request to include a stranger's baby as a flower girl, causing family drama and estrangement. My fiancé and I are getting married in December. I'm 23, he's 27. We got engaged in April, and right from the start, I dove headfirst into planning the whole thing with my mom's help. We hammered out the bridal party details even before I had the ring on my finger. Every role was decided: who would be the flower girl, who the ring bearers. My sister, who's also my matron of honor, has a baby, so we chose her as the flower girl, to be pushed in a stroller by my 10-year-old cousin, who would be the junior bridesmaid. For ring bearers, my fiancé really wanted to include his best friend's son. There were complications, since the friend rarely had custody of the child, and getting him to the wedding could be challenging. That child would be about a year and a half old by the time of the wedding, but just in case, to take the pressure off, I also asked my 2 younger cousins, brothers of the junior bridesmaid, ages 5 and 7, to be ring bearers as well. The older boys would help the younger one down the aisle, holding his hands. We picked these kids because they're close to us, both in age and family connection. Right after the engagement, I reached out to my sister and cousin, the moms of these kids, gave them all the details, and let them know exactly what the kids should wear. Everyone was excited, the kids couldn't wait. Everything seemed perfect, until a few weeks ago, that is, when my mother-in-law sat me down with a new request. A little background: my fiancé's brother, his best man, age 24, lives across the country and, about 4 months ago, announced he has a new girlfriend. She's 21, with a 10-month-old daughter from a previous relationship, and he's gotten incredibly close to both of them. He dreams of marrying her, but they're taking things slow, and even though my fiancé and I have never met this girlfriend or her baby, we were genuinely thrilled for him. Of course, both of them got invitations to the wedding. My fiancé's family embraced them, too. They welcomed the girlfriend's baby almost like their own first grandchild, even flying across the country just to meet her and her mom. So, a couple of weeks ago, my Mill and I are hanging out, just the 2 of us, when she asks me if I'd consider adding the girlfriend's baby as another flower girl. She said my fiancé's brother had been mentioning it and that it would be unbelievably cute. I tried to be as polite as I could as I explained we already had a flower girl and a junior bridesmaid pushing the carriage. Her response? What's one more? She'll probably be able to walk by then. She pressed further, hinting the baby would be about 14 or 15 months old when we wed. I told her I'd think about it with my fiancé, and I left it at that. Later, I brought it up with him. We agreed it wasn't right for us. To start, the role was already filled, and it would be awkward to have a baby walking beside a stroller with another baby. Plus, the 10-year-old would have to juggle 2 small kids down the aisle, not easy. We'd never even met this baby, so what if she felt overwhelmed, surrounded by strangers, walking in a strange place? And the brutal truth: if his brother and the girlfriend break up, she ends up in every single wedding photo. My family is traditional: unless you're engaged, you don't even get A+1. I bent that rule for the joy of inclusion, and I made sure all significant others were invited. But being in the wedding party itself? That felt different. We decided together to keep things as they were. He called his brother and gently explained. Everyone seemed to understand, until the next dinner at my Mill's place. This time, my fiancé was with me. Out of nowhere, Mill brings up the flower girl issue again. My fiancé tries to dismiss it, saying we already have a flower girl, case closed. But my Mill insists the baby means so much to his brother. That's when my fiancé, always the empath, wavers. I'm adamant, but Mill counters every reason I have. She keeps pressing: there aren't any children from their side in the wedding party, so it feels unbalanced. 3 little boys, why not 3 little girls? She asks. In that moment, it's as if my fiancé switches sides and I'm left stranded. Mill isn't rude, but she just won't relent. Every time I bring up a reason, she has a counterargument. They'll get married one day anyway, she insists. She's already part of the family. I keep pushing back, but finally concede, unwillingly, too. We'll think about it. Instantly she senses my hesitation and says, so that's a no. I try to soften it. We'll consider it. The whole thing turns achingly awkward. I'm on the verge of tears, desperate to steer the conversation elsewhere. Afterward, I really felt like the bad guy. My fiancé apologized for wavering in front of his mother, when we'd already made our decision in private. He thought Mill's approach would be gentler, just an open conversation, not a full court press. I felt bad for making him feel guilty, though, looking back, I probably shouldn't have, given what happened next. Later that night, my fiancé called his brother to deliver our final decision. His brother was sad but understood. Still, I felt a wave of guilt and regret for standing firm, especially after my fiancé's apology and the uncomfortable confrontation that followed. A lot has happened in the last few days, and I can barely believe how quickly things spiraled. Right after that tense conversation with my fiancé's mother, I had this gnawing feeling she would go straight to his brother and spin the story, making it seem like my fiancé was on board with her being the flower girl and I was the villain against it. My fiancé, ever the optimist, insisted he knew his mother and she would never do that. But the very next morning, his brother calls him up and, without skipping a beat, says, after our conversation last night I talked to Mom and she said that you were wanting to have her as the flower girl and your fiancé, wasn't. Just as I feared. The prophecy had fulfilled itself. Then he continues, as your brother I want to make sure you get what you want since it's your wedding. I saw red. My fiancé tried to backtrack, telling his brother that yes, we'd talk it through again, but we had already agreed she wouldn't be the flower girl. He admitted he shouldn't have seemed so uncertain the previous night, basically opening Pandora's box. We spent the whole day arguing back and forth. I felt awful, tempted to just give in for the sake of family peace, but then realized the harsh truth. The only reason my fiancé wanted to give in was because it mattered so much to his brother. But it wasn't his brother's wedding. It was ours. That realization hit like a freight train. A few hours later, we called his brother for the third time and flatly told him, no. He was, predictably, upset. I hoped that would be the end of it, but the universe had other plans for us. The next morning, like clockwork, my fiancé gets another text from his brother, pouring out how hurt he was, the emotional manipulation dialed up to 11. We had to draw a firm line. The decision is made. It's our wedding. Please get over it. That's when his brother brought in the big guns, his mother. She called my fiancé and launched into him, grilling him for nearly an hour on the phone. I give my fiancé credit, he stood firm for us, refused to waver. But the words hurt. She told him my relationship with his whole family would forever be damaged, and his relationship with his brother too. Suddenly we were in family warfare over a flower girl. It was absurd. We called my fiancé's sister just to get some perspective, only to be hit with a new bombshell. His brother no longer wants to be best man, and neither of them will speak to us for a while. They both said they won't forgive us until we cave. I genuinely feel like I'm living in some weird fever dream. Everything used to be so good with his family, and now I'm in the twilight zone. We're definitely not going to give in, though. The only lesson they'd learn is that, if they push hard enough, we'll fold, and that's a message we just can't send. It all just hurts so much, losing that great relationship over something so petty, but I have to stand my ground. Update 1. Your insight truly opened our eyes, mine and my fiancé's. So many things suddenly clicked into place. My fiancé's younger brother really is the golden child, always favored by their mother, always coddled and protected. My fiancé, the oldest, has been the peacemaker his entire life, constantly sacrificing for the sake of family harmony. It's always been this way. His little brother would draw their mom into every argument, recruit her to take his side, and get my fiancé in trouble no matter how outrageous or wrong he was. That triangulation manipulation, he's been doing it since he could talk. My fiancé would accept blame and apologize, just to keep the peace. Meanwhile, I started feeling completely crazy for thinking it was absurd to have a child neither of us has met, nor even met her mother, as such an important part of our wedding party. Thank you for confirming I'm not the unhinged one here. If anything, I was generous in how I described their relationship. They've known each other for 8 months, but have only been officially dating for 4. That's right, the wedding is further away than the entire duration of their actual relationship. So why they're pushing so hard for this, I cannot begin to fathom. Some people thought we should have just caved and kept the peace. But that's been my fiancé's entire pattern, sacrificing himself, going along with whatever, just to avoid conflict with his mother and brother. That's probably why they defaulted to this weird manipulative routine. He never wanted this in the first place. He thought it was just as ridiculous as I did, but was ready to give in because that's all he knows. Peace at the expense of his own feelings. This time, though, it's his wedding, his day, not his brother's. Our day, and this time, he has me to stand with him and for what he actually wants. A lot has happened since then. My fiancé met with his father and then his mother. They're separated. His dad's neutral, but always speaks up for me. I actually have a wonderful relationship with him, and he's been filling us in behind the scenes. Here's where things get wild. Turns out my fiancé's brother's girlfriend is fueling the flames, more than we realized. She's pushing him to insist on this, claiming it means so much to him, and has been deeply offended that we said no. I cannot fathom ever asking someone to put my child in their wedding, especially if I've never even met the couple, but forcing the issue on strangers is just wild. My fiancé heard from his dad that his mother and brother are spreading all kinds of lies. His mother is telling anyone who will listen that I'm racist, and that's the reason I didn't want the baby in the wedding. Apparently, the baby and her mother are Filipino, news to me, because I have never met them. They live across the country. I don't even know their last name. I literally had no idea, nor do I care in the slightest. Now the girlfriend believes this and is refusing to even come to the wedding. Fine by me. The real kicker? Our wedding party is made up of people from all kinds of backgrounds, so how could I possibly be racist? It's laughable. Meanwhile, the brother is telling people we're judging his girlfriend and don't want her child in the wedding because she was born out of wedlock. Which is so ridiculous. 2 of the kids already in the wedding were born out of wedlock, 1 on each side of the family. But they're gossiping, twisting everything, spreading lies, and painting us as villains. My brother-in-law has been changing my fiancé's words into things he never said, feeding these falsehoods to not just their mother, but also their sister and dad. His sister and dad are both trying to be neutral, think the whole thing is crazy, want it to just end, and they see that we are the ones being targeted for no real reason. Today my fiancé, finally fed up, went to confront his mother about her behavior. She was completely hysterical, refused to listen, just denied, deflected, and lied about things that we knew, beyond a doubt, were true. She refused to take the slightest bit of accountability for the mess this has become, just kept blaming me, playing the victim and portraying her younger son as some kind of martyr. I haven't spoken to either of them since the conversation where my fiancé accidentally set off this chain reaction, and my fiancé has been trying to take the blame to shield me, but it's not working. They're so wrapped up in this alternate reality, they've driven themselves and half the family crazy. All I have done, from the very beginning, is express genuine concern about putting a child, whom we've never even met, from a relationship that's brand new, into such a significant ceremonial role, when the wedding party was already complete. Mother-in-law denies favoring her youngest, claims to be hurt by such an accusation, but in the very next breath, bends over, backwards to defend him. I feel truly awful for my fiancé. He wants nothing to do with this anymore, he's ready to walk away from these relationships, to put an end to the dysfunction. He told me his mother expected him to just break down and apologize for everything, because that's what he's always been forced to do. But now that I'm part of the picture, he refuses to let us be treated like this. He's angry that they are selfishly trying to hijack our wedding to make some grand gesture for his brother's girlfriend of 4 months, and appalled that they won't respect our wishes for our own day. He's beyond shocked that they're lying about us and so determined to stir up drama over something so personal and special. He's done with the toxic cycle. Unless they have some miraculous change of heart, he's going entirely no contact. We've been in premarital counseling with our pastor, who's also our officiant, and even he couldn't believe their request, let alone how out of control things have gotten. This isn't the update we hoped for, but it's where we are. Maybe one day things will turn around, maybe mother-in-law will come to her senses, especially because we're the only family still living nearby. But for now, we're doing what we have to protect our peace, our relationship, and our wedding day. Update 2. We're still keeping things pretty low contact with my mother-in-law and brother-in-law. My fiancé just isn't ready to speak with either of them, and brother-in-law hasn't made any attempt to reach out to us. That night, after that awful conversation my fiancé had with his mom, she found out that my sister-in-law would be at my first wedding dress fitting the next day, and she wasn't invited. She immediately asked my sister-in-law to call us and see if she could come along, too. We had to tell her no, gently explaining that there would be other people there. Truthfully, I knew I couldn't enjoy that special day with all the tension hanging in the air. The next day, I set everything aside and really enjoyed the fitting with my sister-in-law. I didn't bring up any of the drama, not once. I knew she'd already had to hear enough about it from both her mother and my fiancé. Meanwhile, mother-in-law reached out to both of us, suggesting several times to get together and talk in person. My fiancé told her, as kindly as he could, that he's just not ready for that yet, not after how things went between them the day before. The timing of all of this makes it clear to me, she knows that unless she finds a way to fix this, she'll be left out, not just from the wedding, but from everything else that's happening in our lives. Just recently, for example, we put in an offer on a house together. I really am holding on to hope that things will eventually improve between us. Maybe his brother will come around too, now that we've explained the situation to his girlfriend. But my fiancé is firm, until there's an apology, we simply can't move forward. There isn't much of an update, really, but I wanted to share where things stand. Thanks for sticking with me through all of the madness. Update 3. Either way, he feels an overwhelming sense of guilt and now just wants desperately to fix everything with his family. Honestly, I'm convinced that if anything, my text to her only highlighted to her just how wild he made this entire situation, probably bringing some of his deeper issues into the light. If I'm being completely real, I think he was probably trying to manipulate her too. But it's hard to be completely sure. I don't know her personally or the real nature of their relationship. At this point, I'm just speculating, but I truly believe there must have been other issues between them. I mean, nobody ends a relationship with someone they're truly in love with simply because of family drama. There's got to be something more underneath the surface. Now, let me update you on my mother-in-law. She called my fiancé the other day, before the breakup and everything, which, by the way, we only found out about this morning, and she said, maybe it's good this all happened. Now you're going to therapy to work on yourself, and my mother is being super supportive. We really did not appreciate that. It felt so condescending, honestly. Still, this morning, after everything went down, he decided to call her, and she said she was trying to see us so that she could apologize in person. I'm definitely going to hear her out and accept her apology, but I will never let my guard down again. I'll move on from this, I'm fully capable of that, but I'll always be watching my back. At least things can be cordial between us again. I'll keep you updated as things progress. Update 4. After the breakup, there wasn't much dramatic fallout, but there were some small developments. That night, my fiancé called his brother to console him, just trying to be a good sibling and check in after everything. The conversation lasted a long time, full of the usual heartbreak talk and his brother spilling his side about the breakup. But as the conversation started to wrap up and shift, my fiancé finally brought up the issue that had been affecting both of us. He told his brother, "Hey man, I want to move on from all of this, but I can't do that unless you apologize to her." That her being me. That was all it took for his brother to completely lose it. He went off on a tirade, blaming me for absolutely everything that had happened, literally every aspect, big or small. According to him, this entire mess was my fault, and he said I should have reached out to him, not to his girlfriend. My fiancé immediately defended me, letting him know that I didn't owe anyone anything, especially not after the lies his brother had told about us. I had reached out to her just to be kind, to clear the air and make sure she felt comfortable enough to attend our wedding and be around our family. My fiancé let him know that his behavior was the only reason my day was being ruined, and that it was absurd to expect me to seek him out to apologize for anything. Thank God for my fiancé, honestly. His brother couldn't handle any of it. He refused to own up to anything at all, just total denial and finger-pointing. Now, my fiancé is seriously questioning whether his brother should even be a groomsman at our wedding at this point. He's already decided that there's no way he's going to be the best man. He asked someone else after everything started unraveling. The worst part is, my fiancé is starting to believe that he and his brother might never even be able to have a real relationship again. Update 5. Sister-in-law called us the other day, and she let me know that my brother-in-law had completely twisted all of my fiancé's words from that one phone call. Now, he's out there spreading his version to the entire family, trying his hardest to turn everyone against my fiancé yet again and paint himself as the perpetual victim. Surprise, surprise, right? And get this, apparently, he got back together with the girlfriend. We'll see how long that lasts, considering they've already broken up once before. They're both invited to the wedding, as long as they're still together by then, because honestly, at this point, I get along with the girlfriend so much better than Bill after the DM conversation she and I had. But one thing is for sure, they will not be appearing in any of the wedding photos. This last bit absolutely made me laugh, though, as of today, my mother-in-law made a photo of just my brother-in-law, his girlfriend, and their baby, no Mill in the shot, her new Facebook profile pic. The way she shows her favoritism in this family runs unbelievably deep. That's all for now, I just needed to get that out. Update 6. Many people had been curious about what happened after my wedding, so here's the update you've all been waiting for. First and foremost, my wedding day was truly perfect, everything went seamlessly, without a hint of drama. But don't be fooled by the tranquil ceremony. In the 5 months that followed, my in-laws stirred up more than enough conflict to last a lifetime. For a long stretch, I simply remained cordial, friendly enough, but with not a shred of real emotional connection to my in-laws. Then, things blew up between me and my mother-in-law. She started blaming us for her other son's breakup, going so far as to insist my fiancé reach out to his brother to apologize. Suddenly, all our past issues resurfaced. I made it clear just how ridiculous their original request had been, the whole mess about wedding invitations, and her insistence on certain guests. But my mother-in-law just doubled down, claiming she'd do anything for her family, implying that my own family wasn't as close, that we were raised differently. Voices got louder, and I finally stormed out, fed up. Seeing my fiancé so distressed over the tension between me and his mother made me realize I valued his happiness over holding a grudge. I decided to swallow my pride and fall on my sword, hoping to bridge the distance. When I apologized for raising my voice, she offered no such olive branch in return. She just repeated her earlier digs about our families being different, never once owning her part. In that moment, I knew some wounds would never fully heal. Cordiality was probably the best relationship I'd ever have with her. What surprised me was how strongly my fiancé called her out. He was truly upset about how she treated me. Her response to me was more about regret that she couldn't manipulate her son as easily with me around. An apology was out of the question. At that point, I was just done. A few weeks later, my fiancé and his brother finally talked things out and discovered that their mom had been fanning the flames, making the flower girl thing into a much bigger deal than it ever should have been. My brother-in-law said he wanted to fix things with me, but he never actually followed through. Life got busy, I suppose. Eventually, his brother, the girlfriend, and their baby came to visit. I finally met them. His parents were over the moon, buying up gifts for the first grandchild. The visit was smooth, no drama, no mention of past issues, just good vibes. I did my best to make his brother's girlfriend feel welcome, and the baby was adorable. I was polite and warm, just as I'd always tried to be. When it came to the wedding planning, I think I was a pretty relaxed bride. My friends certainly seemed grateful for my laid-back approach. I let my bridesmaids choose any black, long dress they liked, in whatever style or price range suited them. I didn't bother with a head table, all my bridal party could sit with their dates. As for plus ones, I threw the no ring, no bring tradition out the window. Everyone could bring their significant other. My bachelorette wasn't some extravagant getaway, just a fun, modest day of activities a couple days before the wedding. With such flexibility, I only had 2 requests for my bridesmaids. Please, no heels, since we'd be walking on grass and didn't want anyone sinking in, and please wear your hair down, to give a little cohesion to our otherwise varied looks. Plus we were on a tight timeline for our morning wedding. I even put a bold no white rule on the website, since, in our area, wearing white to a wedding is weirdly common and I knew my family would make a scene about it otherwise. These minor requests apparently made me a bridezilla in my mother-in-law's eyes. She shared these thoughts with the whole family, complained endlessly, even sent my fiancé and me a barrage of silly group texts, Could someone wear white nail polish? Could she wear a shawl, or was that banned too? I couldn't tell if she was poking fun or actually being serious. My fiancé got wind of a particularly nasty call where my mother-in-law and brother-in-law trashed me for being controlling. He snapped, explaining to them just how relaxed I'd actually been. He stood up for me, telling his mom to stop going around me and talking about me, to actually engage with me directly like she does so willingly with his brother's girlfriend. The conversation escalated to the point that his brother just hung up. Right after, my mother-in-law called me and, completely oblivious to the drama I'd just missed, we chatted comfortably for nearly an hour about everything and nothing. Shortly after, she called my fiancé back, apologizing profusely, admitting she'd been wrong and regretting her actions toward me. She swore she missed the relationship we used to have. Things have truly improved since then. She's even reached out, suggesting we spend a girls' day together once we return from our honeymoon. I decided to give her another chance. It seemed like she genuinely understood where her boundaries lay. Then came the wedding. The day couldn't have been more perfect. Watching my husband's reaction as I walked down the aisle absolutely wrecked me. He broke down sobbing, which set off a chain reaction. Half the wedding guests cried, including me and his parents. In that moment, I sensed his parents finally saw just how strong our love was, and how much I meant to him. They truly seemed happy for us, and things have been much better since. My brother-in-law has also been making more of an effort to connect. For now, things with the family are good. I sincerely hope it lasts, though, after all this, I'm ready for anything. As for one last tidbit I know people are curious about, at first, I didn't want my brother-in-law's girlfriend and their baby in the wedding photos. But it was important to my husband, so I let him decide. He planned for them to appear in just one photo, but his brother pushed for both, and my mother-in-law convinced him not to make them step out for one and stay for the other. No one bothered to inform me of this, and I only found out when they. It seems you've referenced a phrase without providing the full original Reddit story or update you want rewritten. Could you please paste the full story or update text here? That way, I can rewrite it in the engaging first-person style you requested. Update 7 popped up on my mother-in-law's Facebook before we'd even gotten the proofs. 2 immediate family portraits, side by side. In both, his brother's girlfriend and the baby were front and center. My stomach sank, because that hadn't been the plan, and more than that, nobody had even told me about the switch. We called our photographer and he was so apologetic it broke my heart a little. Apparently, my mother-in-law had emailed him the week of the wedding with an updated family list and said she'd cleared it with us. She even paid the extra charge to add it onto our shot list. I was so stunned I couldn't even be mad right away, just tired. We fixed it. He flagged those images as family extras, not part of our official album, and sent us everything so we could curate what goes into the book. I chose the version we'd planned, parents and siblings only, and my husband told his mom, gently but firmly, that the album is ours, our call. She cried, then said she just wanted options, then cried again. In the end, she dropped it. I let myself be annoyed for about an hour, then decided I wasn't going to let a JPEG undo the piece we'd managed to build. And then, 2 weeks later, I peed on a stick and the 2 lines showed up so fast I swear they flashed. I walked into the kitchen and handed it to my husband without a word. He looked at me, at it, back at me, and his face did that same collapsing into love thing it did at the end of the aisle. We decided we'd tell our parents after the first ultrasound, keep it closed a little while, just to have something that was purely ours for once. We made it to 9 weeks. We went to the appointment in the morning, heard that tiny fast drum beat and cried into the same crinkly paper sheet. We stopped for breakfast on the way home and my husband kept staring at the grainy little photo on the table like it was going to jump up and talk to him. We planned a small dinner that weekend, both sets of parents, his sister. We were going to tuck the sonogram into a little card and let them figure it out themselves. It was the first secret that felt like joy instead of strategy. And then, because apparently we cannot have anything simple, my husband accidentally texted the ultrasound photo to the big family group chat instead of the one with just his dad and sister. He realized it immediately, but a minute later, his mom replied with 40 exclamation points and a string of crying emojis, followed by finally a real grandchild. I watched the air leave his body. He called her right away and asked her not to say anything else until we could call my parents, and to please not post it anywhere. She said of course, she would never. 10 minutes later, my cousin sent me a screenshot of my mother-in-law's Facebook status with our sonogram plastered across it like a billboard, captioned "My heart is full. Can't wait to meet our first grandbaby." I hadn't even called my own mother yet. I just sat down on the kitchen floor and stared at my phone until the tiles blurred. My husband called his mom again. He was calm in that scary way people get when they're past anger. He told her to take it down, now. To her credit, she did, and she apologized, but not before the phone call started and the congratulations rolled in and my own mom found out, because her coworker, who follows my mother-in-law, texted her. We ended up still having the dinner, but it had that heavy, weird energy where everyone's trying to be happy and you can't unring a bell. My mom hugged me like she was trying to fix it with the force of her arms. My mother-in-law brought a gift bag filled with tiny onesies and a crocheted blanket with our last name stitched across the middle in block letters. I stayed up all night, she said, which I don't think was true, but there we were. My husband took the bag and thanked her and then said, in front of everyone, going forward, we're going to keep things private until we say otherwise. Please don't share anything without asking. His mother said she was sorry, again, and then, unable to resist, added, I was just so excited because this is our first reel, and his brother cut in hard, Mom. The room froze. His brother didn't yell, but his voice had that sharp edge, and his girlfriend's face was already crumpling before he finished the sentence. Do you hear yourself? He asked. Do you understand how that sounds? My mother-in-law tried to backpedal. She kept leaning on the word biological, like that softened it, but there's no way to make that not land like a slap. The girlfriend picked up the diaper bag and said she needed air, and by the time I stood up to follow her, she was already out the door and halfway down the walk. I found her by the mailbox, bouncing the baby and wiping her face with her sleeve. I told her I was sorry for how it came out, that none of this was how I wanted any of it to go, that I understood if she didn't want to come back inside. She nodded and said, I know it's not you, and then surprised me by hugging me. Congratulations, she said into my hair. I really am happy for you. We stood there like that for a minute, two women in the middle of everybody else's noise, and then went back in together. I wish I could tell you that moment fixed something. What it did was make fault lines visible. His brother has always lived under that glow, whether he chose it or not, and now the glow hurts someone he loves. After they left, he texted my husband a long message that swung wild from apology to accusation to apology again. He said he wanted to protect his girlfriend, that he was embarrassed, that he felt like our baby was going to erase his little family in his mother's eyes. My husband told him our baby doesn't erase anyone, it adds to the pile. He said what he's been saying for months now, we can't fix Mom. We can only decide how we're going to be. The next day my mother-in-law showed up at our house with a bassinet and a car seat she'd scored on Marketplace and a paper grocery bag of baby bottles. I opened the door and saw my future, a steady procession of surprises and help. My husband beat me to it. He stepped onto the porch, closed the door behind him, and told her we appreciated the thought, but we're not taking anything until we ask for it. He told her we'll be making our own choices about brands and timelines and visitors. He told her we're changing the locks. She cried, again, and said she was just trying to be involved, but this time the tears didn't move him. You will be, he said. When we invite you. We did change the locks. It felt dramatic and also completely sane. His dad came over that night with pizza and spent an hour on the nursery floor with my husband, assembling the one thing we bought ourselves, a little bookshelf shaped like a house. His sister brought over a box of her favorite baby books and sat on the rug with me, carefully writing notes on the inside covers, like tiny time capsules for a kid who doesn't even have fingerprints I can see yet. It was the quietest I've felt in months. There was one more ripple I didn't see coming. The photographer finished our gallery and delivered it with a sweet note about our day and a link to a separate folder he titled Extras. Inside were the two versions of the family photos, as promised, plus a handful of candid shots he'd pulled after our phone call, the ones he said he thought we might appreciate someday, even if we didn't put them in a book. One of them is my husband, half hidden by a tree at the edge of the cocktail hour, holding our niece on his hip while my mother-in-law stands in front of him, adjusting his boutonniere with that laser focus only mothers have. He's laughing. She's laughing. I sat and looked at it for a long time. It's complicated. All of it is. We're not going no contact. Not right now. But we made a calendar and we built in buffers. We put in writing what we want for the birth and the weeks after, who will be there, who will not, what dropping by means, it doesn't, how we'll handle updates. My husband sent it to his mom himself. She read it and said she respected it. Then she texted me separately and asked if she could still plan a shower for just our side of the family, and I said yes, with rules, and she said okay. I'm choosing to believe her. For now, the house is quiet except for the little whir of the white noise machine I bought for practice, which is silly, I know. There's a photo on the fridge of a profile the size of a peanut, and a bassinet-shaped space in the corner that will stay empty until we say otherwise. I don't know what any of this will look like in 3 months, or 6, or a year, but I know this: every time the phone rings now, my husband looks at me first, and every time I put my hand on my stomach, I think, this is the family we're making. The rest is border. The rest can bend.